Hello everybody, my name is Josh. I'd like to welcome you back to an episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we'll discuss books both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats, will make you wish they were your cats, and I'll drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. So, it has been several weeks since I've been on here. My last video was my June TBR. That was a little late, but now we are here for my June wrap-up. Speaking of wrapping up, I had a minor procedure done on my wrist, but here in a couple more days I should be all good on that. Shirt is one of my favorites, the Cat Attack shirt. Love it. So, here with the June wrap-up. June, of course, is Pride Month. Always a very exciting time. I read books with representation all through the year, of course, but this is just a great time to give people awesome recommendations on books with representation from all facets of the Pride community. So I gave myself a little bit of a lofty goal during this month. I knew that it was going to be a busy month. I knew that I was going to have this procedure done, and so I was going to cut down on my reading time. That said, I got through almost all of the books that I said I would, plus a few others. So I'm going to talk about those now. I decided not to talk about the books that I read as far as ebooks, audiobooks, and that. Those were pretty much unrelated to the ones that I told you I was going to read and unrelated to Pride Month. So I'm just not going to waste time talking about those right now. I might talk about them in my next video. This, I want to focus on just these books with LGBTQ plus representation. So, the very first one was A.Z. Roskillis with Space Station X. This is about an engineer named Jax. She intentionally gets herself a position on a ship that is just as far away from Earth as possible, and Jax loves it. Jax does not like people. Jax goes out of her way to avoid everyone on the ship. In fact, she knows all the little crooks and crannies of the ship to get in, get the job done, and get out before anyone even realizes that she's there. Unfortunately, the new security officer for the ship has made it a point to kind of force Jax to be social with her as often as possible, and it's particularly frustrating to Jax because Jax has an immediate crush on her. While this little back and forth romance is going on, there are a lot of odd things happening with the ship. A lot of mechanical failures and things like that that shouldn't be happening. People are seeing things that aren't there, and people on the ship are just acting off. So you have all that going on. This bills itself as a lesbian horror comedy. I'd say that it is heavy on the romance, heavy on the horror at times. The comedy was honestly a little more subtle. Overall, I gave it 3.5 stars, maybe 4-star. There were some parts that I thought were lacking in regards to the ending, and I thought that at times the focus should not have been so much on the women in the relationship, and should have been more focused on the situation they were in at the time. But overall, it was a really enjoyable read. Another one from Space Wizard, and just a great addition if you're looking for some sapphic representation, and are a fan of science fiction horror. Next up was Justin Arnold with Wicked Little Things, and this is a book I've been wanting to read for a really long time. Finally got a copy of it and had an excellent time with it. This is about a boy named Dane. Dane is going through a lot. Dane's cousin was recently murdered in the woods nearby. Unknown to everyone except for that cousin and Dane. He was there because he was trying to make up to Dane for something truly awful that he did. So Dane, of course, has this weighing on his conscience that that his cousin was murdered because of him. On top of that, though, this group of teenage witches come to Dane during the funeral and say, hey, by the way, we want you to join our coven. And again, unbeknownst to other people, Dane has been exhibiting strange abilities. He's able to set things on fire and do a few other things with his mind that he doesn't really know how to control, but has kind of been scaring him. This is all also on the eve of him being forcibly outed to his classmates and other people around him as gay. It's not necessarily a surprise to anyone, but it certainly ramps up the bullying aspect. So there's a lot going on right at the start of this book. This one, I would say, is pretty heavy on the humor, but there's also some really horrific moments, and I had a great time with this one. The humor is very much more for the Gen Z group, so if you don't understand their humor, then you may not really get anything out of the humor from this book. I found some of it funny, some of it not so funny, but overall, this was just a really cool book. It had the kind of witchy thing going on. It had some pretty decent humor, had a really interesting killer involved, and a mystery as to what was going on with that. And I just had a great time with it. This was 5 stars, and some more great representation for gay characters in this one. Alright, this next one we're not really going to spend a lot of time on. This is Rebecca Thorne with Can't Spell Treason Without T. I had high hopes for this. It bills itself as a cozy fantasy steeped with love. I'm going to tell you outright that this is not cozy. This is really just fantasy with some pretty heavy stakes, actually, so not really cozy and warming and inviting in the same way that, say, Legends of Lattes was. And I thought that the relationship between the two characters, I don't know, I had issues with it. Overall, this one was a big letdown. It was 2 stars. I'm not really going to talk about it much. I want to move on to some more enjoyable books, but let it be known that this one I had high hopes and it just really let me down. Getting into an anthology, this is another from Space Wizard. This is Lofty Mountains, 11 Stories of Cloudy Peaks, Airship Adventure, and Sapphic Experiences. This one I gave 3.5 stars to. This is a pretty interesting mix of science fiction, of some fantasy. Some of it runs very much more on the romance side. Some of it runs very much more on the science fiction or fantasy side. What I do very much appreciate with Space Wizard is at the beginning of each story, they give you a little table that shows you what kind of sapphic representation you're getting and shows you the spice level of the story, so that if you are someone who does not like, say, sex scenes, then you can skip that story and go to something that is less spicy. So I really appreciate that. I think it's something that Well, Space Wizard has been doing it in their anthologies for a while. I think it's something that other anthologies may start doing as well. I know some people are very against trigger warnings. I think this is a little different in ways, but even with the trigger warning thing, I agree with it. I don't necessarily need them myself, but I can certainly see the need for them for other people, and I think this is kind of the same way. Now, back to the book itself. Again, I gave it 3.5 stars. I think overall it was a very enjoyable experience. There were a few standout stories, as always, a few that did not work as well, but if you're looking for something a little different and something that that really focuses on sapphic relationships, not even necessarily just romance, but sapphic relationships, then this could be a really good one for you if you are a science fiction fantasy fan. Next up was William C. Tracy with Of Mycelium and Men. This is book 1 in a series. Again, I kind of had high hopes for this because it sounded really interesting. This is about a generation ship that has been in space for hundreds of years now. They finally find a planet that they think will work for them. They land on it and then realize that the entire planet has been taken over by one giant biomass that's essentially like an alien version of a fungus or mushroom. The representation here comes from the fact that in this world, because they have been out in space so long, their bodies all work a little differently. So they almost have to create their children in a particular environment, in a laboratory environment, and the children are all born essentially in a way that the child can decide whether they want to become male, female, or both, or neither, or whatever. So there was a lot of good going into this, and the idea overall was awesome. A lot of the really cool aspects of the book involve watching them interacting with this giant fungus. So those parts are all really cool. I think it's a bit overwritten in that technically speaking, it just needs to be tightened up and needs to be made more interesting, I guess is the best way to put it. It has a lot going for it, but as it stands, it is a bit of a boring book, and so I left it as a 3-star for me. I probably will not continue the series, and I think that overall it's a bit of a slog to get through, and I don't know that the payoff was worth it in the end. Now, a book that is definitely worth picking up is Allison Ames with The Devourer. This is a beautiful book all around, and when you take the cover off. This is about a girl who basically her and her father are completely betrayed by her adopted brother, and he harms the father in a horrible way where he is essentially in a vegetative state, and it forces her to take over their pirate ship far, far sooner than she is ready to do so, and she makes it her goal to track him down and kill him for what he has done to their father. He did this to steal a treasure map that no one else knows about. Along the way, very early on, they make contact with something called the Devourer, which is an ancient being that lives way down in the ocean, and this being basically tells her, you have to find the thing that was stolen from me by the king, or else I'm going to destroy the world, is essentially the way that it comes about. So this one is much more on the fantasy side than anything. This is definitely a swashbuckling adventure. If you're into pirates, if you're a fan of Peter Pan, if you're a fan of fantasy, or maybe a little bit of horror as well, maybe more on the body horror side, then this is a really good one for you. Now this one is cool too because it's YA. It has representation for sapphic romance, and it's just a really great book. This one draws you in. I did not want to put it down. I barely put it down, in fact, once I started reading it, and it was an easy 5-star, and one that I will definitely pick up again in the future, and one that I intend to pick up the other books that this author has written. It's a fantastic book. Highly, highly suggested if you're a fan of that style, that genre, subgenre, whatever you'd like to call it. Definitely worth picking up, and just an awesome looking book to have on your shelves. Getting into another anthology here, this is Sword Stone Table, Old Legends, New Voices. So this is an anthology of Arthurian tales retold in past, present, and future. Some of them gender bent, some of them just totally retold with characters that are more inclusive. This is really very much a mixed bag. Now, I was reading this while there was a bunch of stuff going on with the family, while this was going on, and basically all this to say that I had a really, really tough time focusing on this book, and I don't know how much of it was the book's fault and how much of it was my fault. I had a tough time with it. Ultimately, I ended up giving it 3 stars. I thought that there were more stories in here that I just didn't care about than say the next anthology I'll be showing off. But that said, there are 4 stories in particular that were big standouts in this one, and that I highly suggest you pick this collection up just for those, if nothing else, and because it is supporting an excellent cause. If you're interested in knowing which stories those are, go look on my Goodreads review, because I can't remember the names of these stories and authors at the moment. And the final anthology that I'm going to tell you about is Don't Ask, Ghosts Tell. This was a very special LGBTQ plus anthology that focused on people, individuals who were involved in the military during the time when the U.S. basically said, well, they put a don't ask, don't tell policy in place where if you were not straight, then it was very likely you were going to get kicked out of the military. What is very unfortunate about this is we're kind of coming back to that now, after it was just done away with during the Obama administration. But without getting into a bunch of politics that we don't need to hear about anymore, the proceeds of this book go towards a great cause. It's going towards helping individuals and families who have been affected by these things that have been put in place. And overall, it's just a really excellent collection. Now, as usual, yes, there are some stories that I did not enjoy as much, but I would say that there were far more that I really enjoyed, and that made me want to pick up other things by the authors. I gave this one 4 stars at the end of the day, and will again highly suggest it because the proceeds are going to an excellent cause. So if you're looking for some horror, not all of it military themed, but a lot of it is, so keep that in mind, and you would like to support folks that have devoted their lives to protecting us in the United States and then had it taken away because of who they were, then Don't Ask, Ghosts Tell is definitely a collection to pick up. Those were all of the books that I actually finished, as far as the ones that I picked for Pride Month. I am at the moment 100 pages into In Cold Blood. Today is the 29th. I fully intend to finish this book today. If not, then I will 100% finish it tomorrow, so it will still be finished within June. But I don't know what I will have it rated as just yet. At the moment, excellent, although very sad, of course, because it is about a true crime. But I'll let you know about this in my next video. So the only two that I said I was going to get to that I didn't actually get to: In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune and Cold Moon Over Babylon by Michael McDowell. So I did not get to these in time for Pride Month. I will be getting to them. I don't know that I'll get to them in July. We'll see how it goes. I do have some particular books picked out for July because July is BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. So I have some books that I want to dedicate to that, but this month should be also a little more open as well in regards to what I read. So I'll get into that in my next video. Hopefully I will be able to do the weekly wrap-ups again here soon as well. Again, there's just been a lot going on, but this, I felt like, did exactly what was intended. It gave an excellent representation of the Pride community. Give you some awesome books to look into if you have not already. And please tell me down below what you have been reading for Pride Month and suggest some books to me that I can pick up throughout the year. So that's it for this one. I want to thank you as always for joining me. I hope that you stay safe, have a great week or weekend, and most importantly, drink great coffee. Cheers.